Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Mary, and in my last video I talked about things that I won't be buying for this holiday period, autumn, winter, etc. And I've made a lot of videos about things that are wrong because it's so obvious and they're so in your face, especially during holiday season, peak Black Friday season, peak we're buying stuff we don't need season. However, this channel is not only about looking at all the things that we don't like or obsessing over the stuff that's wrong, because we can do that now and literally until the end of time. In today's video, I thought I wanted to contribute with a little bit more like a positive spin, because a lot of people might need that, including myself, especially so, I guess, myself. So today I have 10 sustainable zero waste habits, hacks, actions that you can take that will make this period of the year more sustainable. There are tons of other stuff that you can do as well. So if you're thinking of something that I'm not listing, put it in the comments down below and then we can inspire each other. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing that I think we should start doing is leaving the leaves in our garden be. It's very common that when the leaves fall from the trees, because it's fall, we rake them up and drive them away because it's not nice to look at. And this is something we've been doing in our yards for decades. I have a whole video about the impact of lawns and how our mentality towards what's proper garden etiquette and what's proper garden maintenance, how we ended up in a place where the ideal garden is a graveyard for biodiversity, because it's a really funny journey there. Anyway, one of the things that have a really positive impact is leaving the leaves be, because when they biodegrade, when they decay, they become fertilizer for the soil. They also invite in microorganisms and small animals, and that's going to strengthen biodiversity. There was a study conducted in Denmark that showed that Danes generate around 1 million tons of garden waste every single year. But leaving the leaves to decay on their own can actually reduce the emissions from that garden waste with 600,000 tons every single year. And the good thing is it actually requires you to do less work. Often when we talk about sustainability and a lot of the eco habits, etc., that are out there and that are being recommended, and that I often sometimes recommend as well, require just a tad bit more effort from consumers. But sometimes, like in this situation, it requires you to do less, which I definitely see as a win-win. But I don't have to rake leaves because it's actually better for the planet to leave them be. Don't even collect them in a big pile, even though it's incredibly satisfying to jump into the big pile. But leaving them in a big pile will absolutely just ruin the soil underneath. Letting them simply just be scattered. That's the absolutely best thing you can do to your garden. And sort of staying in the garden maintenance lane, but number 2 is avoid using snow blowers and leaf blowers, because these things are incredibly impactful to use. A better alternative would be to simply do it manually. Avoid using leaf blowers and snow blowers. They emit around 1 pound of carbon monoxide every hour they're used, and it's just not good. And I guess this is the exact opposite situation, because doing this manually with a shovel would require you to do more work. Earnings and spendings, baby, earnings and spending. Now, I can't really talk about sustainable habits for winter, autumn, the holidays, etc. without also talking about Christmas trees. And you're in luck. I have a whole video dedicated to figuring out which option is more sustainable, because it actually differs a little bit. So here's the short recap. In some situations, getting an actual natural tree has a really, really low carbon footprint. So if you live in an area where you can get these locally, that's actually a brilliant solution. But having them imported, for instance, imported to California from Norway, which happens, is incredibly impactful. But some reports find that the impact of Christmas trees under the right conditions are incredibly low as this equivalent of 3 roses grown in a greenhouse. So, for instance, I live in Denmark. It's not necessarily unsustainable for me to get a Christmas tree from Denmark. It's actually a pretty solid solution. The other thing you can do is get a reusable Christmas tree. That's what I have. I found a reusable Christmas tree in a thrift shop and I absolutely love it. But if you buy it from new, you have to use it several times over several years. I think it's between 8 and 10 years. You have to use this in order for it to have sort of earned its production impact back. But that's also definitely possible. So depending on where you live and depending on your situation, there are different things that you can do, but I suggest checking out the video for the full story and the total overview. I'll link it down below. But if you get a Christmas tree, obviously compost it. don't just throw it into landfill. That hurts my brain. Now, I love homemade gifts, so I always recommend doing them either for hostess gifts or small things that you're giving to friends and family instead of going out and buying small useless knickknacks and whatnot, because definitely there is a plethora of options when it comes to small plastic useless stuff. Make something yourself. One of my favorite things to do is to make like a dry cookie mix that you only have to add water or milk and oil to. You can also make small hot cocoa batches. You can also do soap. You can also do facial scrubs with sugar, salt, or coffee. There's so many options for small, nice things that you can do that makes so much of a difference. And the impact of giving these gifts sort of like socially, it shows that you actually really can. You care enough to sit down and make something. And I think that's incredible. I love getting gifts that I can tell that people put effort into, because that tells me way more about them than what they spend on a certain gift. Like, I don't care about that, but you sat down and you took time to make something for me. Waterfall. In my family, we have a tradition of sort of giving things that we make. So because of a lot of us are really creative, we often give paintings, drawings, pieces of art, and I love it. And you can do so many different things with so many different skills. So depending on what you're good at, tap into that and use that in the gift giving season instead of just going out and buying something. Now, this is a little bit basic, but I think it still fits pretty well into this theme. But instead of using disposable single-use coffee cups for your hot beverages this winter, use your own thermos instead. You can even bring it to coffee shops and have them put your coffee or other hot beverage into your own container, into your own cup or mug, rather than getting a disposable product. This is something that is not news. It's not science. It's in no way, shape, anything that I just discovered. We've been talking about this, and this is one of the very first things that we do in Zero Waste, or one of the very first things that a lot of people are introduced to when trying to lower their impact. However, it's a classic for a reason, and it doesn't have to be a fancy thing, which is why I want to build on this. It doesn't have to be a new fancy product. It doesn't have to be an expensive Stanley cup, anything of the sort. You can literally just go into a thrift shop and get a thermos or get a ceramic mug and bring those around, or put it into your office if your office uses disposable cups. Take your ceramic from your thrift store and put it into your office, and then you always have something reusable on hand. Anyway, moving on. I just call this heating, insulation, and layering. So it's getting colder. At least it's getting colder many places in the world. Overall, it's actually getting warmer, but I digress. We'll leave that be. That's a can of worms for another day. In many cases, we're starting to freeze more. But before you turn on your radiators, or before you turn them all the way up, or before you start your big heating systems, put on a jumper, put on some long underwear, put on cozy, fussy, warm socks, and make sure that you're layered up, because sitting at home in a tank top during the winter with all the heating on is just really, really wasteful. You can cut down on your heating bill and also on the impact of your household if you just put on some more layers. And this is, again, not absolute science, but it's something that I think it's important to remind ourselves to do, because the easy solution, which is just to turn all your heating up, is very tempting. But I can afford that. And the planet can't afford that. Anyway, layers. Layers for days. Long underwear saves my day during the winter. Every single day. Moving back to gifts a little bit, but giving experiences rather than stuff is such an easy way to give a more sustainable gift. So I actually have a gift guide. I do a gift guide every single year. I think I've done that for the past 3 or 4 years. So you can find those. I'll link them down below as well if you need more inspiration. But a lot of the time, what I experience myself, as well as what I can see other people experience, is that they want to give more sustainable gifts, but they don't live in a family, or they don't have friends that would appreciate a secondhand gift or a homemade gift. So what do? You give them an experience instead. You take them to a restaurant or a museum or a concert or a picnic or a hike. And it's a really easy way to give something a gift that doesn't have a physical footprint or doesn't need to be wrapped in gift wrapping. By the way, gift wrapping also a part of the gift guide if you want more tips on how to lower the impact of that and lower the waste of that. Giving an experience, writing a card saying we're going skydiving, bitches, whatever. Anyway, giving experiences rather than stuff, I think, is a really good idea. Now, for full transparency, I'm not actually the biggest Christmas holiday decor person. I don't like to seasonally decorate my home. I've never been into it. I have decorated my home in a way that I really love, and I don't want to ruin it with holiday decor. So overall, I'm a little bit of a Grinch when it comes to holiday decor in general. But one of the things that I really like is dried leaves. It's dried branches, dried flowers, which I think can be easily very festive, and it's dried fruit. So what you can do is that you can cut oranges into slices and dehydrate them either in a dehydrator or in your oven, and you can put those on a string and use them as decor. But that's my humble recommendation. Let me know what you do to sustainably decorate your home during the holidays if you're into it. If you are super into holiday decor, I also definitely recommend checking out thrift stores during this time of year. At least they have piles and piles and tons of Christmas decor. But whatever you're into, there's definitely a way of doing it in a more sustainable way that doesn't involve buying tons of new stuff. Now, this thing was also in my anti-haul video, but the other way around, it was sort of an alternative to something I won't be buying, but I'll give it its very own spot. And it's homemade advent calendars. I have done homemade advent calendars for a few years. I don't think I'll be doing one this year because I frankly do not have time at home where it makes sense. But overall, there's a couple of different options and I've tried all of them. They work wonderfully. So either you can save your advent calendar from previous years and you can refill it with sweets and whatever small knickknacks you find, either that being thrifted stuff or bulk sweets, whatever, reusing the old packaging and putting new things into it. But you can also take small tote bags or wrap things in paper, in newspaper, or make small cardboard crates and put your stuff in there. Making something yourself rather than buying an advent calendar where you don't know what's in it, especially if it's stuff. If it's stuff, it's usually absolutely useless. So you can actually make advent calendars with things that you know your loved ones would like and use, or you can do it with their favorite sweets or treats. And now the last thing, again, this is going to sound grinchy, but I digress. Reducing candle burning in your home, and there are two different reasons for this. In the holiday season, we advertised that we should light candles. It's going to be really nice and really cozy, and I get it because it is nice and cozy, but the indoor climate is going to be so polluted from these candles, and the particles that's released from the burning of these candles are linked to different kinds of health issues as well as cancers. And that's because a lot of candles are based on petroleum-derived ingredients, which means that when you burn them, you get all of that stuff into the air. It's not as bad if you use beeswax candles, if you use soy wax candles, but the main issue still remains, and it's that you will release stuff into your indoor climate that you'll inhale, and it's not great. So I've reduced the candles that I use. Instead, I actually have a few electric candles where I can put in a little battery, and that's a whole other thing because that comes with an entirely different impact. There are two vastly different problems with two vastly different types of materials that's being used. But overall, I just really prioritize the quality of my air in my home, so I won't be lighting as many candles anymore. What I do sometimes is that I go on Netflix and I put on the screen with the fireplace, and it's very nice, but also kind of dystopic. Anyway, I don't really have a good swap that is 100% sustainable for this. I'm just reducing the amount of candles that I burn. That's it for this video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you do to make this period of the year more sustainable for you, and which ones of these 10 things that you'll be trying at home. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing, that would make my day, and have an amazing day. Take really good care of yourselves. Until next time, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!